we are looking at a very crazy and active pattern this month that may go down in history. What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have quite a bit to discuss with you today. We're going to be talking about some winter storms. We're going to be talking about what may be happening throughout the rest of December in terms of the temperatures, the pattern that we're going to be seeing, as well as potentially as we get closer to Christmas. We are now 3 weeks away, 21 days away from Christmas, what early travel conditions could look like, as a lot of people are finishing up their semesters in school, they're starting to get off for work, and all that fun stuff, and they're going to be traveling to see their families. So we're going to go ahead and give you their early indications to that. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and dive right into it right here. Starting off, we have our short-term stuff that we're going to be going over. We have the North American model pulled up. This is going to be going over what's maybe happening over the next few days. So we're going to be talking about this quite extensively a little bit, and then we're going to get to the temperatures and the snow accumulation we will see in the next few days for a lot of people in the Midwest, in the Mid-Atlantic, and New England, and even in the mountain regions, since that mountain snow is going to really start to turn up in the next little while. So here's what the situation that we're dealing with right here. We have another low pressure system moving through parts of the United States right here, kind of that merges with this low pressure system over here in Canada. Over here, I believe that is close to the Hudson Bay. It's going to bring some potentially heavy snowfall tomorrow going into Saturday in parts of the Great Lakes, especially Wisconsin, Michigan, those areas as well, before moving into Ohio and Pennsylvania. Then on the 6th, we do have an Alberta Clipper system that cruises through parts of the United States right here and moves through parts of the upper Midwest and Great Plains, starting in the Dakotas, going into Nebraska. Omaha could definitely see some snowfall with this. Same with Iowa into Missouri. The Chicago area, if you're watching this from there, you're going to want to tune in because we're seeing another potentially big snow system move through your region right here. It's not particularly a strong pressure system, but it's an Alberta Clipper. Definitely known for bringing a lot of snowfall and a lot of wind with that region right there. And then as it continues to move through parts of the U.S., it starts to move into the Mid-Atlantic, into potentially Philadelphia, New York City as well, before it starts to dissipate as well. So we're going to want to pay attention to that, as well as this high pressure system that moves out from Canada. That's going to bring some pretty significant cold air to a lot of people in the Midwest, in parts of the northern United States. We're going to want to pay attention to that as well. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and go to the temperatures right now, because you have your temperatures. It's really been really cold this morning for a lot of people in the Midwest. Temperatures got into the teens where I'm at, so I've definitely been feeling that as well. And then as we get to Friday, it doesn't get as intense for tomorrow morning, but definitely gets a lot colder. That freezing line goes all the way down to near DFW and in parts of the deep south. And that huge cold blast really starts to impact New England, the Mid-Atlantic, New York, New Jersey, those areas as well. So you're going to want to pay attention to it as time continues to go on. And then as you have another high pressure system start to move out from Canada, you're going to see those cold temperatures start to return on Saturday and Sunday right here. Looking at this right here, my goodness, things start to really ramp up. And this is going to continue to dive down into parts of the Midwest. This is already in Minnesota and Iowa right here. That's going to bring more Arctic cold to potentially Wisconsin, the Chicago area, Michigan, Missouri, parts of St. Louis as well, the Illinois side, potentially as far south as Indianapolis as well, could see some pretty cold temperatures as well. So you're definitely seeing a lot of troughs, you're seeing a lot of ridges, seeing a lot of high pressure, a lot of low pressure as well. Low pressure equals more snow, high pressure equals more cold for layman's terms right there, just to kind of give you a general rundown for how this winter is likely going to operate. taking a quick gander at snow accumulation, the accumulation we're going to see in the next few days mainly going to be concentrated in parts of the Midwest, potentially up to 8 inches of snow in parts of Iowa and Minnesota over here, but overall mainly 2 to 4 inches of snowfall for most of the other regions for where that Clipper system is going to be moving through. But still, considering what we saw earlier this week, the impacts cannot be ignored. We're going to want to pay attention to it. We're going to want to keep a close eye on it. If you are tuning in, if you're IDOT or MoDOT, if you're tuning in and wanting to look at road conditions, you're going to want to pay attention to see how the weather is going. Models are one thing, but conditions are a whole other ballpark. And I think what we saw on Monday definitely exacerbated that whole problem, because a lot of those models did forecast snowfall to hit more so in the afternoon instead of mid-morning to early afternoon, and that's why we got a lot of accidents. We got pretty much the entire Midwest shut down and slowed to a standstill across a lot of the interstates, 55, 70, 64, or prime examples of that, actually. And I was watching it, and I was going, oh my goodness, this is not good. NWS put out a statement saying they missed the mark as well. I'm not bashing them or anything like that. I'm just covering what they're saying. But it does exacerbate an issue that we need to kind of emphasize is it doesn't matter the amount of snowfall that you get, but rather what matters is the impacts that it's going to bring. 2 inches of snow may not seem like much, but given what we saw earlier this week, 2 inches of snow could essentially mean, oh, we're going to see a lot of impacts with this. You got to be careful regardless of that, especially with temperatures this cold going into the winter. That's also going to be a problem, especially for those that are going to see multiple rounds of this 2-inch snow every other day, or every other day, for example. That's just going to quickly accumulate right there, and that's only going to cause more travel condition problems. Now we're going to go ahead and go more so to the long run. We're going to use the GFS. I know the GFS isn't the most realistic model, but it does go the furthest out. It gives a good illustration of what we're looking at. So we're going to go ahead and use that just for effect and just for context. We're also going to use the European GMGDPS as well, just to give a full picture of this. So here's the GFS run that we have for you right here. GFS has the system, system moving out of New England on December 8th, and then as we get to the 9th, you have another low-pressure system, another Clipper system most likely moving through parts of the Midwest. Chicago area definitely gets potential impacts once again, going into Ohio, into going to Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, those areas as well. Another round of snowfall for parts of the Great Plains, although the GFS definitely converts that to rain and definitely has a bit of a warm bias, I would say, compared to the climatology and compared to the other models I have seen. So I'm taking this, especially like 8 days plus out, with a pinch of salt with this, but still you have some stuff going on. Another potential system in parts of New England right here, more Great Lakes impacts as well, going to the 17th, the 18th, another Chicago system as well, as that you're going to want to pay attention to. Then another Clipper system on the 19th and the 20th of December. This is fantasy land at this point. Keep that in mind. Take it with a massive grain of sodium chloride. We're not 100% sure what's going to happen. This is actually the 6Z that we have pulled up for you. I can show you the 0Z right here just to show you how completely different this is. Yeah, it's a completely different model at that current point, but still you're going to want to watch the synoptics, you're going to want to watch the conditions as well, and see how ultimately those will pan out. Here is the GEM GDPS as well. We're also going to show you this just to show you the model difference and to show you just how different things are going to get, and just to give a general idea of what the Canadian run is going for, and just to kind of show you that difference, because the cold air is definitely a lot lower down in the United States, at least initially. And then as you get through much of the region right here, as you get through much of the run, you see more snowfall, you see more of these Clipper systems moving through parts of the Midwest, parts of the Mid-Atlantic, and New England as well. Mountain snow really starts to intensify, so if you're in California, Washington, Oregon, and the mountain states as well, you're going to want to take that seriously. as well. And another thing that we need to also watch out for is lake effect snow, because of all these Alberta Clipper systems that are going to be moving through especially the Great Lakes region. You're going to see a scenario where, because of just how warm the waters in Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Erie, and Ontario are, those are the 5 lakes, kids. Just because of how warm those waters are and how cold the air is above it, that is going to cause problems. And it's not going to take a lot of forcing and a lot of evaporation to cause some lake a result in this case, because of that temperature difference and because of those winds, because of the Alberta Clipper systems, especially if you're in the upper peninsula, throughout the lower peninsula of Michigan on the western side, that region as well. Same with northeastern Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. You're going to want to pay attention to that. And that's just another area that we're taking pretty seriously moving forward. Here's your snow accumulation as well. This is the GEM GPS, mainly concentrated in parts of the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, the mountain regions, as well as the northeastern United States as well. Definitely going to want to pay attention to it, and we're definitely going to want to see how the models are going to kind of diverge from each other. Here's the European for you right here in that 10-day period. And then as we go out to 15 days for you guys as well, that 15-day forecast, I will say you got to take it with a grain of salt at this current point, but still mainly concentrated in much of the Midwest, in parts of New England, and is deep, even going as far south as potentially Philadelphia and DC as well. I'm not going to entertain the accumulation right now because at this current point, this is Fantasyland, but it does give a general idea of where the snow is going to be falling and how it's going to ultimately pan out. As you're looking at this too, the mountain regions, you're going to want to watch out for this. Look at this, potentially up to 5 feet of snow as well in parts of the Cascades, 140 inches of snow potentially for parts of Washington state as well. That's not particularly too surprising, but still looking at those snow totals definitely is an intriguing thing to watch. And then the GFS really overdoes the mountain snow over here. But once again, similar to the European and similar to the GEM GPS, concentrate in 3 main regions: the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic, well, the Great Plains if you count that as a region, but I count some of that as the Midwest anyway, and the northeastern United States. Those 3 regions are the areas that are going to get hit pretty hard throughout the month of December. It's been kind of mapped out in the climatology models. The cold temperatures are going to be a huge factor as well, and then just a bunch of other factors as well. So it's like I said before, it may not be as cold as 2013 to 2014, that winter, which was just absolutely insane across much of the eastern U.S., but it's going to be as active. And what I mean by active, I mean there's going to be more low-pressure systems. There's going to be more high-pressure systems. There's going to be more bursts of cold, more bursts of snow. In general, it's going to be more of an up and down, up and down, up and down effect instead of just it being consistently cold. But still, the point is going to stand, and that is something that we're going to want to pay attention to here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. Lastly, here is the CFS run for you guys right here. I'm mainly showing this just to kind of show you the kind of pattern we're seeing. This is mainly an indicator of what your temperatures are going to be like, as well as troughs and ridges to show you just how active this pattern is potentially going to get. So we're going to go ahead and start it from the beginning and slowly work our way towards the end of the run. Here is what we have for the 7th and the 8th. In the 9th right here, we have a bit of a ridge setup starting to build up for parts of the south right here, the southern plains, parts of the mountain regions as well. And then as you get to parts of December 11th right here, you see another cold blast moving through parts of the U.S. You're seeing those cold temperatures really starting to reinforce in parts of especially from Michigan all the way to Maine as well. I want to go ahead and take a quick gander at those temperatures right here. Even the Europeans kind of emphasizing this right here, bringing a big cold blast through much of the Midwest, at least starting. And the European has these temperatures, at least in regards to this. Look at this. At least this is the 850 temperatures. I want to see how this converts to the surface, -10. Doesn't convert too much right here, but look at this. Temperatures all the way down to by the time we're in the morning, all the way down to the freezing line as far south as Mississippi, like that's Memphis right here. Memphis is freezing at the freezing line right here. All of Kentucky is at the freezing line right here. And then as we continue to move on as well, another big cold blast moves through parts of the U.S. I just want to take a quick look at this. Look at this temperature spread. We're looking at -3 degrees in North Dakota, whereas in Texas, we're looking at 80 degrees. That's the kind of temperature gradient we're going to be seeing this winter. And this isn't going to be a one-time thing. It's going to be pretty consistently across much of this winter. It's been kind of outlined in the climatology models and definitely something you're going to want to pay attention to. But my goodness, it's literally a line of either extreme cold or extreme heat. I mean extreme heat in terms of the winter context right here. I'm not saying that 80 degrees is extreme. Summer temperatures are a lot more extreme than that, but you get the idea. But the extreme gradient we're seeing this winter is going to continue. And that is something we're going to want to watch. Then as we go to use the CFS right here, as time continues to progress, looking at this, another cold air push starts to kind of develop, and you may see another low pressure system according to the CFS start to develop as well, and you're going to want to pay attention to that. And then you have another even crazier push going as far south as Texas. These temperatures, like these freezing temperatures at 850, go as far south as the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, how that's going to convert down to the surface, most likely we're going to see temperatures probably in the 40s or so, maybe the upper 30s that far south, if that holds. But still, you're going to want to take that rather seriously. And then you have another cold push moving through. It's mainly concentrated, though, in the northern United States. You're not seeing these massive plunges down to the south right here, which that could cause another problem in terms of severe weather, but we'll have to get to that. But here's Christmas morning for you guys. We're now at Christmas morning and taking a quick gander at this. The CFS, interestingly enough, is wanting a low-pressure system to develop at some part of the United States and for some areas to get a white Christmas. It's going to be cold regardless if you're in the Midwest, if you're in New England, if you're in other parts of the United States like the mountains as well. It's going to be cold. The question is, will we see snow? It's definitely still looking like more likely than it was previously. It's definitely something we're going to want to pay attention to as well. Then as we get to the 27th and the 28th, this is when the cold starts to plunge down a little bit more, according to the CFS. This is when we're going to start seeing those Arctic blasts starting to penetrate parts of the deep south more. You're going to want to take that more seriously. We're going to want to watch that as well, especially if we see a low pressure system start to act together over here in parts of the mountains on the Colorado low. But my goodness, this is a big shift compared to what we saw previously. Now, the models have definitely changed, I will say, but the early CFS models went from it mainly staying on the northern part of the U.S. for December to the entire eastern United States getting an Arctic blast throughout much of the last few days of December going into January of 2026. That is the main change that we are seeing right here. Before, we were seeing maybe a few indicators of that, but now we're seeing a lot more indicators that, hey, this winter is just getting started and we're just heating up our dinner with this. So that's what we're seeing right here. Then it starts to pull back a little bit, but then you have another blast moving through parts of the region as well, going into actually hold up. This is where the run actually ends. As a matter of fact, this January 6th right here. I just went back to the beginning of the run, but anyway, this is where it kind of ends on the 6th of January. Throughout much of the region. My goodness, that cold air definitely pushes down a lot further to the south than previously. So if you're tuning in, you're in for a cold winter and you're in for an active winter. And this is just the start of it that we're seeing in December. We're going to be seeing a lot of wild weather over the next 30 days. At least I can say with confidence. But regardless, it's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy, especially in the Great Lakes, New England, Northeast, in the Midwest. It's going to be very snowy for you guys, especially as those lake effect snow events start to really kick in throughout the rest of this month. So if you're tuning in from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, Upper Wisconsin, the Chicago area potentially, or quite frankly, anywhere in Michigan and anywhere in Northeast Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York where you're surrounded by Lake Erie, you're going to want to take that very seriously. We're looking at a pretty snowy lake effect for you guys right there. But January is especially when that La Nina effect really starts to kick in a bit more. And that's something that we're going to want to watch out for, and something we are definitely going to continue to keep you updated on here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got something out of this. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. The goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. And as we get closer to Christmas, I will keep you updated on the travel potential and the travel conditions as well. I did that for Thanksgiving. That turned out really well. I really appreciate you guys for being here. If you'd like to help out, hang out, or ask us questions, join the Storms United Discord server. The link to that is in the end screen. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.